How Robotics Will Affect the Business Industries in the Next Decade by Mario Sims. The project proposal summary and the goal of the project was, the proposal summary consisted for me was to gauge how planning for increased robotic and automatic labor will help businesses more and manage and balance human labor appropriately. My goal was to learn about the past, present, and future of robotics and the role of business operations. The summary of the research done, my main source of research was the Herzing library, and I used Procore Central and Gale Cengage as my dominant sources of information. I used Google to verify various other sources, including pie charts and a few journals, but predominantly I use research journals, newspaper articles, and scholarly journals to narrow my own opinion and perspective of robotics, past, present, and future. The overview and hypothesis and theory of the project is to show how companies are taking steps for increased efficiency, and always have. Robotic labor over time is proven, plus with more skilled human labor to manage that robotic labor, has managed to create more revenue and made businesses more profitable in manufacturing and developing. The quality over loyalty is proven that robotics prove over time that they have served more in the serving capacity for the quality of efficiency of operations and businesses over time from the 50s to now. Automation technology has become too easy and tempting for businesses just not to take advantage of it, especially at this point in time with increased robotics and automation labor. The results of my research conducted me to go first into the past of robotics and in the history of robotics, and that the term robot itself has origins in Slavic and Czech languages relating to heavy, monotonous work and slave labor. The Czech playwright Karel Čapek wrote in RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots, which gave sites for robots in a play in Prague, which first premiered in 1921. In the 1960s and the 70s, research and development to robotics clearly came into focus after the increased production of the car manufacturers. Ford and General Motors began to use robotic parts in their daily operations to conduct mass production of their cars. In the 1980s, the boom of industrial robots and service robots began to be noticed from the research done in the 60s and 70s by many companies. Manufacturing has been trending towards automated processes for decades now, and this was first seen in the 1980s. Starting with mass production factories and assembly lines of the aforementioned companies like Ford and General Motors from the 80s, industrial robots began to be made in large numbers, with the new robot being introduced in the market at a rate of once a month in the 1980s. These robots have been microprocessor controlled and are smarter and have a higher degree of operational freedom than they had from their original counterparts in the 80s. Industrial robots were increasingly becoming more intelligent and versatile, so in the not-so-distant future, they're expected to be capable of working without human intervention and take over most of the manufacturing processes within many factories, automated factories. Now, this does not mean that a bunch of jobs in manufacturing are going to go straight to robots, as we see, because human labor still has to oversee the work done by robots. But nonetheless, the current global trends are showing that automated labor includes cloud computing, the Internet of Things, IoT, artificial intelligence, and RAP as a service, which is also known as RAS, which has added another potential to the robot sector currently in the climate. Industrial robots installations in the 2000s and the new millennium have increased annually by increments of at least 2% since the year 2000, and manufacturers are already 10% automated globally, and is expected to climb to at least 25% halfway through the 2020s. Now, I have a current example, being that I have visited a plant with robots and automated processes in Spartanburg, South Carolina, where my father works at BMWs. We were able to visit the plant, and we were able to see a certain sector of the process of the plant which produced a certain line of cars known as BMW X5 and X6s. The body shops were completely ran by robots, for which we saw. And I thought this would be a great example currently in the United States of companies, mass companies, large corporate companies looking to find easier processes for safer, more efficient products. And this one plant I visit has a total of 7,000 people employed at the complex, but has, as far as I know, any modern U.S. car plant has just as many robots running certain processes as any other car plant in the country. Again, the X5, X6 line body shop, which is a department in a whole factory line in itself, has more than 380 robots, independent robots, that do nearly all the work in a body shop. And the claim of the company of BMW claims that they want in this particular factory for robots to do more as far as the automating and the finishing in the coming years of the next decade. So that's a common example of how companies are using and looking to implement more robots in the current times as well into the near future. Some important projections as far as the robotic technology currently, as far as the end of 2018, in which we are in December now. By 2019, our government will be implementing robot-specific regulations to preserve jobs and address concerns of security, safety, and privacy. So the implementation of robots have become so widespread that government is now formally introducing legislation to both large companies and small companies as far as their usage and how they plan to supplement human labor and human value within the workplace and businesses themselves. By 2020, 40% of commercial robots will become connected to a mass share of intelligence, resulting in a 200% improvement of overall robotic operational efficiency. This is the trend that businesses are looking to ultimately look forward to, and the ultimate goal of the project was to prove that businesses want to improve operational efficiency. By 2020, 60% of robots will depend on cloud-based software to define new skills, cognitive capabilities, and application programs, leading to the formation of a robotics cloud marketplace. So the cloud technology that we currently use for everyday saving files and sharing information will soon be used in an automated form by businesses to download processes and carry out tasks in various forms of businesses and departments within businesses. Practical applications of robotics. The 5 industries most affected by robotics in the next decade are very important. This includes the medical field, which alone is probably the most important to which robotics will have the effect in the next decade alone. With expanding populations, anticipated medical staff shortages in various countries around the world, and a gradually declining running costs, healthcare leaders are searching for new means of efficiency. So these robots and these robotic systems will become more widespread in hospitals in the next 10 years. So think surgeons accompanied by a robotic assistant during their operations is more so what we're gearing towards in the next decade. Robotics are also already being used for educational purposes through various companies that use VR simulators for trainings and lessons, and not only in workplace but also in various educational sectors in the schools and colleges. In the future, though, service robots will serve as proxies for both students and teachers, and are currently doing this as well. They're implementing this in various countries, to which the proxies will serve as physical avatars for people who are not able to be in classes, such as people with certain diseases or injuries to which they are not able to walk or use their amenities. They can use robots as an avatar to record them and to act on their behalf. And this will also be effective for teachers as well. The construction industry, as we know and can expect, has a desperate need for the use of robotics in their industry, yet it is also found widespread that it's very difficult to find conducive scenarios in which you can add automated processes in construction areas. So the construction industry is one of the least automated industries that feature manual intensive labor as a primary source of productivity. And construction tasks have been notoriously difficult, again, for automated processes, and the scale of unpredictability of construction work sites are the primary obstacle for robotic automation. However, these robots will dramatically improve the speed and quality of construction work. So there are no construction robots currently implemented widespread around the world, but there are sectors in countries which are using construction robots for bricklaying, masonry, laying concrete, and the more dangerous jobs, demolition jobs, are another type of construction robot that is currently looking to break into mainstream applications, since they're far cheaper and safer, obviously, when it comes to dangerous and hazardous work situations for humans. As far as scientific research and national security, NASA has proven in the past and currently the use of robots in space exploration, in galaxy exploration, and the U.S. is already using in national security unmanned, aerial vehicles to conduct surveillance and use ordnance against targeted enemies as applied. And while those active droids are used in the fight, there are also some robots used in defense, with bomb squad robots used to inspect and defuse possible explosive devices during those military operations, especially in the past in Iraq and Afghanistan. So the future holds also, in the next decade, the development of medbox to go in combat zones to check on casualties and injuries of soldiers in combat areas, and are also developments of C-bots, like what are referred to as UUVs, or unmanned underwater vehicles, which are designed for underwater tasks such as searching for mines. So over the next decade, the course is moving toward using robotics to increase efficiency across industries for practical reasons. And these 5 industries make the most sense currently and in the next decade. So the summary of the possible outcomes of a quick and widespread implementation of robots are: the service and industrial robots take over human labor in the most dangerous job scenarios, which is needed. However, will cause a very short surge or clash in the culture between human and robot collaboration. There will be to be some form of formal understanding on a wide-scale basis of how humans and robots plan to collaborate in business atmospheres, and how humans plan to continue livelihoods with the use of robot labor. Human legislation and policies regarding labor force changes as a result of automation. So again, our policies regarding pay and securing healthcare regarding robotics will be dictated in the next 10 years as well. And again, the most notable possible outcome of implementing robots in business sector is possible mass layoffs due to companies' cutback in labor, as we've seen the current trends of the past decade, in which companies are looking for reasons to trim labor, especially more so than any other sector of their business. I used a total of 18 references. The font is not big enough to see here currently, but hope you enjoy the presentation, and thank you for teaching me what you have taught me.